Hiya, I'm Simon Mole and I am a poet. In this special video, made in collaboration with Year 6 at Wessex Primary in Maidenhead, you are going to be writing a poem inspired by World War I. Your first task is to think of an emotion connected to the experience of the soldiers who fought in that war. So I might pick fear, courage, sadness, or hope. Pause the video and note down the emotion that you've picked at the top of your page, and then hit play when you're ready to move on. First up, what would that emotion look like if you could see it as a thing? What colour would it be? And be as specific as you can here. So for fear, I was thinking yellow, but I might say dirty yellow, a dirty yellow cloud of smoke. You might want to come up with an answer which uses what you've learnt about the war and about life for soldiers in the trenches. So I might say fear is a soldier waist deep in water. But for hope, maybe I would say a moon reflected in that same muddy water. Pause the video to note down a few visual ideas of your own and then hit play when you're ready for the next prompt. Next up, what does the emotion sound like? What kind of music might it be? For sadness, I think maybe a sigh or the hubbub as an orchestra pack up their instruments for the final time. Rough ideas are fine at this stage. If you're trying to connect your answer to the trenches, then you might mention gunfire. But if you do, try and describe it in an original way. I could say the sound of morning hate as both sides shell the land in front of the trenches at dawn. Pause the video to note down a few sounds connected to the emotion that you picked, and then hit play when you're ready to move on. Right, what does the emotion smell like? This could be a word that you would use to describe the smell. Rich, full, sour. I think that fear would have that kind of sour smell, but also quite sharp, like lemony maybe. And this is a horrible thought, but you could also mention the stench of rotting flesh that soldiers had to live with in the trenches, or the bitter charcoal of gunsmoke. Pause the video to get a few of your ideas down on the page, and then hit play when you're ready to move on. Next up, what does the emotion feel like? If you could touch it, would it be warm, cool, smooth or rough? Would it feel like anything that you've touched before? For fear, I might say the sharp, cold metal of barbed wire, or a finger shivering on a trigger of a gun. Pause the video to note down a few of your ideas, and then hit play when you're ready to move on. What does the emotion taste like? If it was a food or a drink, what would it be? So I might say dog biscuits and tea for breakfast again, because that was what a lot of soldiers had to eat in the trenches. Or I could mention the metallic tang of blood. If an idea comes up for you which is not directly linked to the war but feels right for the emotion, then that's great, put that down too. Maybe you think that sadness would taste like soggy cardboard. Say yes to your own ideas. There's going to be time to edit these later. So pause the video, just let it flow, get the stuff down on the page, and then hit play when you're ready to move on. Where do you imagine that this emotion is hiding right now? Or if it had a home, where would that be? What would it be like there? For sadness, I might say inside the boot of a soldier with trench foot. And the sadness is swelling up like the foot. Or for fear, maybe inside an envelope, heading home to a loved one. Pause the video to note some of your thoughts down and then hit play when you're ready to move on. Great. In a moment, you're going to read through the writing that you've done so far, and you're going to add some detail to 2 or 3 of your favourite answers. So, my soldier who was waist deep in water, I could add that he was shivering. The sound of a tank might become a crunch as it crushes the undergrowth. If you'd said a war shrine on a street corner, it could become a simple wooden war shrine on a London street corner. Even a word or two here or there is going to make a big difference to how your poem turns out. So really put the effort here to come up with some interesting descriptive detail and add that to those 2 or 3 answers that you pick. Pause the video whilst you do that and then hit play when you want to get going on putting your poem together. Great. The good news is that you have done the hard work now. In fact, I reckon if you were to read out some of your favourite answers in any order really, I'm pretty sure it would be starting to sound like a poem already. Now you get to have some fun arranging that poetry in an order that you think is going to sound good. You could start each line with the emotion. Fear is the sharp, cold metal of barbed wire. Fear is the sound of morning hate at dawn. Or you could take the emotion as the title and then let the descriptive detail, the poetry that you've already written, flow into each other. Some of the young people that I worked with decided to write in first person as a soldier who was in the trenches or had been in the trenches. So if you come up with an idea that you'd like to approach this in a different way to how I've suggested, then great, definitely go with your idea and see how that turns out. Remember that a poem doesn't necessarily need a clear beginning, middle, and an end in the same way that a story might do. You don't even have to write in full sentences. Part of what I enjoy about poetry is a chance to make those connections for myself. So, my little poem about fear in the trenches turned out like this. Fear is a sharp spike of barbed wire. A dirty yellow cloud of smoke. The sound of morning hate at dawn. Fear is hard to swallow. Damp dog biscuits for breakfast again. A shivering soldier, waist deep in water. A crescent moon. Fear is hiding in an envelope. A shakily inked signature. Desperate to be home soon. So however your poem turns out, I would absolutely love to read it. Whack it up in the comments underneath the video and I'll be happy to give you some feedback. If you've enjoyed the video today, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.